Hi, it's Jack from jackgately.com and Jack Gately Real Estate. Thanks very much for coming. Just a quick overview of the Massachusetts Association of Realtors exclusive right to sell listing agreement. This particular form here, we're going to be using the with consent to dual agency option. There is the exclusive right to sell with no additional provisions. There's the exclusive right to sell with consent to dual agency, which we're going to use here. And then there's another one which includes the consent to dual agency and the consent to designated agency. Here at my office, we tend to use the one with consent to dual agency built into it. This is the one we typically use. You can use any one of those three. They're all entirely legitimate. We usually use this one on a regular basis, in which the consent to dual agency is built right into the form. If you don't know how to access this form, you need to get over to our YouTube channel and watch Getting Started with Zip Forms. Getting Started with Zip Forms. This is a form which we access through our Zip Form account because we are members of the Realtor Association. So if you are a realtor, you want to get over to your Zip Form accounts, pull up this in one of your libraries, the Massachusetts Association of Realtor Library, and start filling it out. So and you're just going to write, the name of the seller here, whatever that is, Joe Bag of Donuts. Just put the name of the seller there, and there we go. That looks good. And you're going to name, this is an important one. A lot of people get this one right. You're wrong, actually. You're going to want to type in the name of your real estate office, not your name, because technically this document here is not done between you, the agent. Nope. It's done technically between your agency and the seller. You are the authorized representative. And you just throw in the street address here. That's pretty easy. You see it pops up there. You just click on that field, fill in those fields there for yourself. Add in the book and page. You can get that from the assessor's field card. Many of you know that you can get that down at your local town or city hall, or you can probably get it on the internet through the MLS PIN public record tab to the upper right-hand corner. Listing price. Well, you probably had a significantly lengthy discussion with the seller about the listing price. It should be fairly straightforward what this is going to be right now. Remember, in the end, it is the seller's determination of what the house should list for, or the property should list for, not yours. And should you change the listing price in the future, you definitely want to use an amendment to the listing agreement in the future. Maybe we'll make a quick separate video for that document. Listing period. This agreement shall begin on. Well, that's a really important one. There are important rules relative to posting your listing forthwith from when you actually have the listing agreement go into effect. So as a general rule of thumb, if I'm having this signed on a Tuesday and I'm going to put it on the market the following Monday, I'll probably date this agreement for the following Monday. That way I don't get involved with possibly violating any of the MLS PIN requirements to post your listing. I can't remember what the exact rule is, so don't hold it to me, but I believe it is about 24-hour rule. So in order to avoid violating that, I usually just date this here on the day that we intend to actually put it on the market. And as a general rule of thumb, listing your property on a Monday or Tuesday is a best practice. And then when should it be extended to? And as you can see, you just click these fields and up comes one of those calendar things, so fairly easy to fill out. When should it be extended to? Well, keep in mind, if you're looking at a particular property, let's just say a single-family home, 3 bedrooms, 2.5 bath, 2-car garage, so your normal kind of suburban home, you and your community are going to know how long it takes to sell that house on average. And if you just go with the average, you're setting yourself up for failure. So don't do that. What you want to do is say, hey, if it takes 89 days to sell that type of property, then if you went for a 90-day listing agreement, a 3-month listing agreement, that's going to be too short, because just with the vagaries of life, your property might sell quick or it might not sell so quick. So if it takes 3 months to sell on average, then you're probably going to want to go for like a 5 or 6 month listing agreement. Obviously, the longer the listing agreement, the more likely you're going to be the one that actually sells the property. Farther down here on Section 4, the broker fee. Well, of course, broker fees are not set by any organization or anything. They're something that you have to negotiate with your client. So go ahead and do that with your client. That's going to be really something that I can't answer for you. So get in there and answer that for yourself in the open market. Compete as best you can to get that listing. The next segment here is should what a lot of people call the clawback, and a number of different terms for it nonetheless. The aforesaid fee shall also be due to any person who is introduced to the property. So let's take a scenario. Let's say your listing agreement was for 100 days, and you showed the property to somebody on day 97. Then the listing agreement expired on day 100. Then those people who you showed the property to on day 97, they call you on day 102. And they say, hey, we'd like to make an offer on that house you showed us last week. And you say, great, my listing just expired. Well, not going to be that bad news. This little paragraph here, or this sentence here, allows you still to get compensated on that showing. Even though your listing agreement expired, you still get compensated on that showing because you are the person who introduced the property. And so you have a 30-day grace period, if you want to call it that, during which time you still get compensated for that introduction. Broker compensation. This is for who you're going to split the commission with, possibly if you co-broke. And so it's very likely that you're going to have to talk about this with your sellers and also maybe your broker in your office. Of course, broker rates are not set in stone and they're negotiable. Here, we're going to add in the name of the listing association. Oh, look at that. It pre-populated some options for us. We have MLS PIN and Cape Cod MLS. We have MLS PIN, and so we have a number of different options. I find that I'm probably going to check this one more often than not for my personal listings. There are more than one MLS system here in Massachusetts, so some of you might know there's MLS PIN, which serves the vast majority of Massachusetts. There's the Cape Cod MLS. There's also another micro MLS on the islands, and there's the Berkshire MLS. So check with your office on how to fill that in. That's going to be slightly variable. I typically use MLS PIN and Cape Cod MLS. Sliding on down here. Additional, missed a very important section. Section 7. This is consent to dual agency. This is only the seller's portion of consent to dual agency. That's very, very important. This is not the buyer's portion of consent to dual agency. It is not. So therefore, this form allows you to do dual agency, but it's only the seller's consent. You still have to get the buyer's consent on the state authorized consent to dual agency form. So should you be showing the property or even hosting an open house, for instance, it would always be a best practice to have the state authorized form. I think I'll put a link into the bottom of the website here, into the video description, so that you can get any buyer's consent to dual agency before you get into any details of their offer. So remember, you want to get that consent to dual agency written and in advance. And the one way to get it in advance from the seller is to have it built right into the listing agreement. Otherwise, when you're talking to a buyer, you have to have that form ready so that you can get them to consent to the dual agency before you get into the details of their offer. So very, very important. If you're showing the property and it's your listing, you should definitely have that form handy in your briefcase or in your car or something like that. And especially if you're having an open house, have that form handy. I mean, you can't get dual agency unless you have the form. So make sure you have the form. Additional terms, in many listings, I'm going to find that a lot of people just write in none. And then you just date it, whatever date it happens to be, whatever it happens to be, and then you just sign it here. You're going to be the authorized representative. That's going to be pretty simple right there. There we go. You're going to be the authorized representative. Boom, 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 and you're done. That's it. Of course, you're probably going to have a policy in your office to make sure that you send this into your broker's office, and there's going to be a number of different document tracking systems that may or may not be available in your office. Some listing services, like the Cape Cod MLS, actually require you to send in the listing to them, send in the listing agreement to them. So make sure you have this handy. Lastly, I'm a big believer in having 1 or 2 copies of this handy in hard copy form, so that, whenever you're out and about, even if it's like every other year that you don't have a chance to type it in like this, it's really nice to have a blank copy in a file folder in your car somewhere, so that if someone says, hey, I really got to sell this house, or they come into they're a neighbor that comes into your open house and they're like, hey, you're doing a great job here. Can you list my house? And by golly, you have this listing form right there, and you can go over there and get that listing. There's nothing wrong with handwriting this particular document. I'm not a big fan of handwriting the purchase and sale agreement. Not a big fan of that, but you can definitely fill out the blanks by hand in this document if you would like to, at least in my opinion. Well, hey, thanks for watching. I'm Jack Gately from Jack Gately Real Estate. You can find me at jackgately.com. Have a great day.